You know, the most dangerous betrayal you'll ever experience won't come from others. It will come from you when you make tiny choices that stab your future self in the back. You don't mean to, but you do it anyway. Perhaps you never realized that you were betraying the most powerful aspects of yourself. You think betrayal is when someone lies to you, cheats on you, walks away when you need them most. But that's not worse than self-betrayal. In this video, we'll explore 10 subtle ways you betray yourself every day. By the end, you'll notice how many times you betrayed yourself in subtle ways. Now let's begin. Your first self-betrayal happens when you agree about something, but deep down your mind completely disagrees. This is a common phenomenon that happens in most of life. You're told to please people, so you agree with others' opinions. You say yes to every favor, and you are available when someone calls you. You are afraid of disappointing others' expectations. Well, maybe others don't expect too much from you, but they are still trying to get something. But here's the truth. Every time you try to avoid disappointment, you betray yourself. You are no longer a peacekeeper. You have declared war against yourself. You betray your boundaries. You pretend to be something you are not. You value others more than yourself. You are not honest with your own thoughts, and over time, your pretending becomes neglecting self-respect. You forget to trust yourself, because you are the one who crossed the borderline. However, this was just the beginning of self-betrayal. The second way of self-betrayal is that you tolerate relationships that drain you. Look, relationships could be with your family, friends, lover, or colleagues, but the most important one you could have in life is a romantic relationship. You may have a toxic lover who drains your energy by making dramas, gaslighting, or ghosting. But what you think about a relationship is that it is all about love. Maybe you call your relationship short of loyalty or kindness, so you don't want to break it. Because deep down you know you're alone, and you're afraid to be alone again. Fear comes to your mind. You don't want to be alone, so you still choose the relationship that drains you all the time. It gives you nothing but lots of anger, insecurities, depression, sleepless nights, and hours of stalking if the person you love is online. And here's the shocker. You are also afraid of finding someone better because you don't trust yourself that much. You think you are not worthy of a good relationship that brings happiness. But understand this, every time you tolerate a connection that depletes you, you are not just betraying yourself but also betraying someone who needs your precious love. And there are more ways you betray your own interests. The third way is you're ignoring your intuition to please society. There's a voice inside you that doesn't tell you anything directly, but the moment something goes against you, it makes you feel uneasy. Psychologists call it intuition. It doesn't scream or rings loud, but it whispers from its lifelong experiences passed by your ancestors. Some decisions made by others might go against your self-interest. Suddenly your instinct finds it uncomfortable, fishy, a silent disagreement. But you ignore it. You don't listen to your own whispers. Instead, you follow the rules. You do the so-called right things, and you end up in the wrong life. Ignoring your own voice is totally self-abandonment, and you can't realize it until you get the consequences. Your conscious mind can lie to yourself. It may feed you illusions, but your intuition never lies. It was built to protect your own safety. But that's not the way you use to betray yourself. There are many ways, and the fourth way is you laugh when you want to cry. You have been taught that strength means smiling, pain should be hidden, and vulnerabilities are weaknesses. So when you are broken from inside, you keep smiling. When you are not okay, but you say I'm okay, you make jokes to flash away your pain. But that's not entirely true. You're just wearing a mask that hides your real emotions. That way, you are brave but abandoning your emotions. Because every time you try to abandon your true emotions, you are giving a clear message that your emotions are not in a safe place. And this self-betrayal revives through hiding emotions. And this betrayal hits more to your well-being because you are neglecting your honest self. Now that you're faking smiles, your betrayal follows the fifth way, where you stay silent when you should speak. You feel the urge to speak, to say what's on your mind, to draw the line. But you don't. You stay silent, not because it's peaceful, but because you're scared. Scared to lose them. Scared to be judged. Scared to be misunderstood. So, you swallow your truth like poison. You nod instead of saying no. You avoid the confrontation and create a quiet war inside. But silence doesn't solve the pain. It only buries it. And what you bury becomes resentment. You let people cross boundaries they didn't even know existed, because you never voiced them. You become agreeable on the outside, but angry on the inside. And over time, your voice becomes a stranger. You forget what you sound like when you're honest. This isn't keeping the peace. This is emotional surrender. This is self-betrayal, done politely. But that's not enough betrayal you do to yourself until the next one hits you so hard. The sixth betrayal is you break promises to yourself. You tell yourself you'll change, that you'll start, that you'll stop, that you'll walk away this time. But when no one's watching, you don't. You broke the promise. Again. And you may call it procrastination, or laziness, or lack of motivation. But it's deeper than that. It's self-betrayal. Because when you break a promise to someone else, you lose their trust. But when you break a promise to yourself, you lose your own. You stop believing your own words. You stop respecting your own voice. You teach your mind that your decisions mean nothing. And that mindset? It's the birthplace of self-sabotage. The more often you abandon your own word, the more powerless you feel. Not because you failed, but because you lied to the one person who needed your loyalty the most, you. However, as you break a promise to yourself, there are more ways you do similar to it, and that relates to the seventh way, which is you apologize for being yourself. You say sorry for taking up space, for being too much, too loud, too soft, too intense, too quiet, too you. You shrink your truth so it doesn't scare them. You lower your light so others can shine. You filter your words, dull your passions, censor your dreams, just to be liked. But after all that, you're still misunderstood, still unchosen, still alone. And here's the truth, it's not your truth that made them uncomfortable. It's their inability to meet someone unafraid to be real. You were not born to apologize for your existence. You were not made to twist and bend just to fit into boxes built for smaller souls. The more you apologize for being yourself, the more you forget who that self even is. But don't think you're done here with self-betrayal. From here you start following the eighth way when you compare yourself to people who aren't even aligned with you. Sometimes you scroll. You stare. You overthink. You look at their life, their body, their relationship, their success, and suddenly, yours feels like a failure. You start to wonder if you're behind, if you're not good enough, if you're missing something. But here's what you forget. You're comparing your truth to their presentation. You're behind the scenes to their highlight reel. You're healing to their pretending. And they aren't even walking the same path as you. They don't have your values, your vision, your mission. So why do you let their life become the measuring stick for your worth? This isn't growth. This isn't motivation. This is spiritual self-harm disguised as ambition. You're not falling behind. You're just aligning with something deeper. And real alignment doesn't need validation. It needs silence, trust, and time. And while you compare yourself to others, you quietly follow the ninth way, which is you keep old versions of yourself alive just to please others. Look, you've grown. Quietly, painfully, beautifully. But you still pretend you haven't. You act like the old you, the one who tolerated everything, who didn't speak up, who stayed small, just to keep others comfortable. You let people call you by names that no longer fit. You let them treat you like the version of you they remember, not the one you've become. Why? Because growth scares people, and you're afraid to lose them. But here's the cost. You betray your self-evolution to protect their illusion. You stay in the same roles, the same patterns, the same energy, long after they've expired. And while they get to keep their comfort, you lose your authenticity. Let go of who you were. You're not responsible for their expectations. You're only responsible for your own becoming. And while you keep pretending to be someone you've outgrown, you also do the last thing to betray yourself. So the 10th way of self-betrayal is you forgive others, but never yourself. Look, self-compassion is the precious practice all we need in adversity. But you forgive people who hurt you, people who lied, left, broke, and never looked back. You gave them understanding, compassion, even closure. But when it comes to yourself, you're brutal. You replay your mistakes. You punish yourself with guilt. You wear your regret like a scar you refuse to let heal. You hold yourself hostage to a version of you that no longer exists. But here's the truth. You can't grow while secretly hating who you've been. You can't evolve while dragging the weight of self-condemnation. You deserve the same grace you've given everyone else. Not because you were perfect, but because punishing yourself forever doesn't make you better. It just keeps you stuck. In conclusion, self-betrayal is not a moment, it's a pattern. A pattern that silently teaches you that you're not worth showing up for. But you are. Start showing up, not just for others, but for the version of you that's been waiting to be chosen by you. Now, if this video opened your eyes, I hope you will like it and share it with your friends too. And if you're willing to upgrade your personality, you've come to the right place. Join our community by hitting that subscribe button. Until the next video. Thanks for watching.